All right, so get this. Imagine an internet that, you actually own a piece of, not just one that you're renting from, like the big guys. That's the promise of DePINs, decentralized physical infrastructure networks. We're doing a deep dive today, and by the end, you'll understand exactly what they are, like why they matter and how they actually work.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating how depends leverage the power of blockchain and crypto incentives to create this new internet. Think of it like a digital marketplace where anyone can contribute resources, like storage space, processing power, and get rewarded for it.
So instead of companies like, Amazon or Google controlling all the servers and networks,
Yeah,
everyday people could be part of this decentralized infrastructure.
exactly, and that's what makes Depend so resilient. There's no single point of failure that could bring down like the whole system.
Mm.
It's like having a safety net for the internet.
Okay, I'm starting to see the appeal, but how did we even get to this point? Where did the pins come from?
Well, the story kind of begins back in 2014 with the emergence of decentralized storage projects like Filecoin, Storage, and Sia. People were starting to realize they could use their own computers to offer storage space to others, all facilitated by blockchain technology.
I remember hearing about Filecoin back then. It sounded so futuristic. People were essentially mining storage space.
Right, and that was just the beginning. In 2017, we saw the rise of decentralized computing networks like Akash, LivePeer, and Render. Suddenly, it wasn't just about like storing data; it was about harnessing the collective processing power of thousands of computers.
So instead of relying on these massive data centers owned by corporations, we could tap into the unused computing power of all these individual devices.
Exactly, and this trend kind of continued to snowball.
Yeah.
By 2019, the concept of machine-fi emerged, where like everyday devices like smartphones and sensors could contribute to the network and earn rewards. It's like turning your idle phone into a mini moneymaker.
I love that. So even my phone could become a part of this decentralized internet.
Absolutely, and that same year, Helium launched their decentralized wireless networks,
Hmm.
offering a glimpse of a future where internet access is no longer controlled by a handful of telecom giants.
That's huge, especially for those who live in areas with limited or expensive internet options.
Exactly. And then things got even more interesting in 2020 with the launch of Bittencer's Neural Internet, the first decentralized AI services network. It was a major leap forward, showcasing the potential of DePINs you know, to power the next generation of AI applications.
Wow. So DePINs aren't just about storage and computing power. They can even fuel artificial intelligence.
That's right. And this momentum continued into 2021 with the emergence of sensor networks like Demo and HiveMapper, where individuals contribute like real-world data to build decentralized maps and other applications.
It's amazing how this movement has grown. It seems like every year brings new innovations and possibilities.
Absolutely. And in 2022, we saw a pivotal moment with the introduction of proof of physical work,
Hmm.
or PUPPY. This innovative consensus mechanism incentivizes people to, contribute physical resources
Hmm.
like wireless networks or storage devices in exchange for token rewards.
So instead of miners using massive amounts of energy to solve complex math problems,
Mhm.
they're actually contributing something tangible to the network.
Exactly. It's a much more sustainable and purpose-driven approach to securing a blockchain.
Okay, so now it's 2023, and we have a thriving DePIN ecosystem with over 650 projects and a market cap exceeding $20 billion. That's mind-blowing. It seems like DePINs are quickly moving from a fringe concept to a mainstream movement.
It is, and we're seeing exciting new projects emerge all the time. Take Aether, for example. They're addressing the global GPU shortage by creating a decentralized network of
Huh.
underutilized GPUs, specifically for AI and gaming.
So they're essentially creating a giant shared supercomputer
Yeah,
powered by the collective resources of individual.
exactly.
Yeah.
And they claim to have 20 times more GPUs available than the RNDR network.
That's incredible. So we've talked about the history and evolution of DePINs, but let's get down to the nuts and bolts. How do these digital marketplaces actually work? How do people contribute resources and get rewarded?
Well, let's take Filecoin as an example. It's like a giant digital marketplace for storage space.
Hmm.
People with spare storage on their computers can offer it up to the network, and others who need storage can pay for it using Filecoin's FL tokens.
So it's like renting out a spare room in your house, but instead of renting like physical space, you're renting digital space.
That's a great analogy. And to maintain the quality of the network and prevent bad actors, many DePIN projects require providers to stake tokens as a kind of security deposit. If they don't deliver the promised service, they risk, losing their stake.
That makes sense. It's a way to build accountability and ensure that everyone's playing by the rules.
Exactly. Now, it's important to remember that there's no one-size-fits-all consensus mechanism for DePINs. While many projects aim for something called Byzantine fault tolerance to ensure like security and reliability, they might achieve it in different ways.
Can you give us some examples of these like different approaches?
Absolutely. The Helium network, for example, uses a system called proof of coverage to verify that their hotspots are accurately reporting their location and wireless coverage. This encourages people to, deploy hotspots in areas where better internet access is needed.
Just like a decentralized incentive to close the digital divide.
Exactly. And Aether, because they need like super fast connection speeds and low latency for rendering, uses regional side chains to relieve pressure on their main chain. Their consensus mechanism, proof of rendering capacity, randomly selects validator nodes from containers that have staked tokens.
So those who stake tokens get a chance to earn rewards for helping to validate like transactions on the network.
That's right. And then you have HiveMapper, which is, building a fresh and detailed global map using dash cam footage and other like real-world data. They use a 3-layered verification system called proof of location to ensure the accuracy of the data they collect.
It's amazing how these projects are finding creative ways to like verify contributions and reward participants. So once someone's contribution is verified, how do they like actually receive those token rewards?
It's a two-step process. Registration and verification. First, users, securely register their physical infrastructure with the DePIN network, providing details about their resources.
So if I wanted to like contribute storage space to Filecoin, I'd register my like hard drive specs, for example.
Exactly. Then users have to, provide verifiable evidence of their ongoing contributions. This could be network logs for wireless access points, tamper-proof data storage solutions, or even like sensor data.
It's like providing proof that you're holding up your end of the bargain.
Precisely. And once that proof is validated, users receive their token rewards. It's this elegant system of incentivized participation that makes DePIN so powerful.
This is truly fascinating. It feels like we're getting a glimpse into like the future of how we build and manage infrastructure. But I imagine there are also some challenges that come with this new paradigm, right?
Of course. One of the biggest hurdles is scalability. As these networks grow and attract more users, managing the complexity and ensuring smooth transaction processing can become a major challenge.
And I imagine regulation is another challenge, given that the legal landscape surrounding DePINs is still evolving.
It is. A lack of clear guidelines can create uncertainty for investors and developers, potentially hindering growth. Another challenge is the initial investment needed to build the physical infrastructure.
Right. Unlike centralized platforms where one company typically like covers the upfront costs, DePINs rely on a distributed network of participants. That initial investment can be a barrier, especially in the early days.
And finally, we can't ignore the volatility of cryptocurrency markets, since most DePINs rely on token-based incentive systems. Fluctuations in token value can impact user incentives.
Yeah.
And potentially affect the network's stability.
Those are all valid points. But before we delve too deeply into the challenges, let's take a step back and appreciate like the bigger picture. What are some of the major benefits of DePINs compared to like traditional infrastructure models?
Well, first and foremost, as we touched on before, DePINs are inherently more resilient because they're distributed. There's no single point of failure. If one part of the network goes down, the rest can keep running.
That's a huge advantage, especially for something like internet access, where downtime can be incredibly disruptive.
Exactly. And thanks to blockchain technology, DePINs are also far more secure. The decentralized nature of the network makes it much harder for hackers to attack or compromise data.
It's like having a security system with thousands of watchful eyes.
Yeah.
Constantly verifying everything.
Precisely. And perhaps the most compelling benefit is the user-driven development model. With DePINs, Individuals have a direct stake in the network's growth and governance. It creates a sense of ownership and empowers communities to shape the future of your digital infrastructure.
It's like the internet returning to its roots as a decentralized and democratic platform.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, I know you're eager to explore specific DePIN sectors and how they're being applied to solve real-world problems.
You read my mind. Let's start with decentralized storage. We've touched on Filecoin, but there's so much more to uncover in this space.
Agreed. Decentralized storage is revolutionizing how we think about like data ownership and security.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fundamental shift away from the centralized model that has, dominated the internet for so long.
Here's something I find interesting. Despite the exploding demand for data storage in the Web3 world, the adoption of decentralized storage solutions is still relatively low. Why do you think that is?
Well, part of it is simply awareness. Many people, even those active in the crypto space,
Mm-hmm.
aren't fully aware of the benefits of decentralized storage. They're used to the convenience of centralized platforms, even if it means sacrificing control over their data.
It's like we've become so accustomed to like renting our digital lives
Right.
that we've forgotten we can actually own them.
Exactly. And to be fair, setting up and managing data on decentralized platforms can be more technically challenging than using user-friendly centralized solutions.
There's definitely a learning curve, but as the technology like matures and the user experience improves, I think we'll see a significant shift toward decentralized storage.
I agree. And let's not forget the complexities of tokenomics. Some decentralized storage projects have struggled to find the sweet spot between incentivizing users and ensuring the long-term sustainability of the network.
It's a delicate dance for sure. But projects like Filecoin are making impressive progress in attracting Web2 data. Their storage utilization has skyrocketed by 650% from 2022 to 2023.
That's remarkable. However, their revenue per terabyte stored has decreased by 85% during the same period. This suggests that while the network's capacity is growing, it's not yet translating into like substantial revenue.
So the challenge now is to attract more paying customers, particularly everyday users, to drive up demand and ultimately increase the value of the tokens.
Exactly. And the potential is enormous. Just think about the massive data storage needs of the blockchain ecosystem itself. Oracle networks like Chainlink are processing billions of data points, and layer 1 blockchains like Solana are storing terabytes of data.
It's a vast market ripe for disruption. Okay, let's switch gears now and talk about decentralized computing. This is another area where DePINs are making significant waves.
Absolutely. Think of it this way. You can harness the collective processing power of thousands of computers instead of relying on those centralized cloud providers like Amazon Web Services or Google Cloud.
It's like turning the entire internet into one gigantic supercomputer.
You got it. And this model has several advantages. It's more efficient, more secure, and more scalable than traditional cloud computing.
You mentioned Aether earlier, the project that's tackling the global GPU shortage. Can you tell us more about how they're approaching this problem?
Aether recognized that a significant portion of existing GPU capacity, especially in data centers, sits idle. Their network tapped into this underutilized potential by connecting those who need processing power with those who have it to spare.
So it's like Airbnb, but for GPUs?
That's a great way to put it. And because Aether is built on the Arbitrum network, it inherits the security and scalability of a well-established blockchain platform.
So it's not just about creating a distributed network of GPUs. It's about integrating it like seamlessly into the broader Web3 ecosystem.
Precisely. And their approach is a game changer for businesses and researchers who need access to powerful GPUs without having to invest like huge sums of money up front.
It's a win-win for everyone involved. GPU owners can monetize their idle resources, and those who need the processing power can access it at a fraction of the cost of buying new hardware.
Exactly. And by pooling all this computing power, Aether could potentially multiply.
Yeah.
The world's available GPU capacity tenfold.
That's mind-blowing. Imagine the possibilities this unlocks for AI development, scientific research, even gaming. It's a total game changer.
It truly is. And speaking of transformative technologies, let's move on to how DePINs are revolutionizing, wireless networks.
This is an area where we're seeing like explosive growth,
You're
fueled by the surge in mobile data consumption and the rise of 5G.
absolutely. Global data transfer has been growing at a compound annual growth rate of 35% for the past 25 years, and it's showing no signs of slowing down.
It's incredible to think that by like 2027, wireless data transfer from Wi-Fi alone is projected to reach 10 million petabytes. That's more data than most people can even fathom.
And with 5G adoption expected to reach, nearly 70% of all wireless connections by 2027. We're looking at a multi-trillion-dollar market.
Sure.
For wireless network service providers.
So it's a massive opportunity. But what makes decentralized wireless networks so different from like the traditional models?
It all comes down to who builds and controls the network.
Yeah.
Traditional wireless networks are dominated by a handful of large telecommunication companies. It's a centralized system with limited competition and often high prices for consumers.
So decentralized wireless networks aim to disrupt this model by empowering individuals and communities to build and manage their own infrastructure.
Exactly. By using blockchain technology and token incentives,
Yeah.
these networks lower the barrier to entry
Mm.
and create a more competitive and potentially more affordable wireless landscape.
It's fascinating to see how DePINs are taking those like sharing economy concepts and applying them to something as essential as internet access.
It really is. One project that caught my eye in this space is eSIM plus Air. They're uh, they're building a foundational layer of internet access by offering services like eSIMs, VPNs, and mobile phone numbers, all tied to a decentralized digital identity.
So it's like a decentralized mobile network
Yeah.
where users can access the internet securely and privately from anywhere in the world.
Precisely. And since eSIM Plus is already an established business with millions of users, their transition to a decentralized model is particularly interesting.
It shows that DePINs aren't just for startups. They can also be a powerful tool for existing companies looking to embrace a more like user-centric approach.
I agree, and their use of token incentives allows them to reward users and contributors while giving everyone a stake in the project's growth through profit-sharing mechanisms.
It's a clever way to align incentives and build a sustainable ecosystem. Speaking of sustainable ecosystems, let's talk about the fourth DePIN sector we're exploring today, sensor networks.
Sensor networks are fascinating because they hold the potential to transform how we collect and use data about the physical world.
Imagine a world where we have a real-time decentralized network of sensors, monitoring everything from traffic flow to like air quality to environmental conditions. It's a game changer.
It is. And DePINs are making this a reality by enabling individual sensors to work together securely and transparently without relying on those centralized authorities.
One project that really embodies this approach is HiveMapper. They're building a fresh, highly detailed global map by incentivizing users to contribute, like dash cam footage and other real-world data.
HiveMapper is a great example of how DePINs can solve real-world problems. Traditional map-making methods are slow and expensive, often resulting in maps that are outdated and inaccurate.
And those outdated maps can have like serious consequences. They can make it more difficult for autonomous vehicles to navigate safely, hinder efficient route planning for businesses, and even limit our understanding of environmental changes.
HiveMapper addresses these issues by creating a collaborative mapping platform where users are rewarded for their contributions.
It's a brilliant model, and the level of detail and accuracy in their maps is impressive. They even capture real-time information like traffic congestion and road closures.
And here's the key thing about HiveMapper. They're not just building a map, they're building a community. They empower users to participate in every aspect of the process, from data collection and AI training to map validation.
It's a genuine example of a user-owned and operated infrastructure. It makes you wonder, what other applications for decentralized sensor networks are just waiting to be discovered?
That's a great question. It's one we'll definitely explore further when we delve into the future of DePINs. But first, let's talk about the engine that drives all these DePIN projects.
Tokenomics.
Ah, yes, tokenomics, the lifeblood of any crypto project. And as we've seen, DePINs are no exception. They rely on, carefully designed tokenomics to attract and incentivize users,
Mm.
ensure long-term sustainability,
Mm.
and drive the network's growth.
Exactly. And when we're talking deep in tokenomics, it's crucial to distinguish between hardware projects and software projects. Their approaches to reward systems differ significantly.
That makes sense. Hardware DePINs like Helium or HiveMapper primarily rely on mining rewards to incentivize users to contribute physical resources like hotspots or dash cams. Right. Users are rewarded for their contributions to the network's, physical infrastructure.
On the other hand, software DeFins tend to focus on point systems and other like gamification mechanisms to encourage user engagement and activity.
Precisely. It's more about incentivizing participation in the network's, software ecosystem rather than contributing those physical resources.
Okay, so let's dive into the specifics of DePIN tokenomics. What are some key considerations for these projects to ensure they're building a solid foundation for growth?
One of the biggest challenges any new development project faces is the cold start problem. Essentially, a brand new network with few contributors offers,
Yeah.
minimal value to users.
It's like trying to throw a party with only 2 people. Not much fun until more people show up, right?
So these projects have to get creative to attract those early adopters and build momentum until they reach like a critical mass of users.
And that's where those port boost mechanisms and gamification strategies come in.
Precisely. By offering rewards for certain activities, even before the network is fully up and running, projects like HiveMapper, Helium, and GeoNet have managed to attract a sizable user base and gain traction.
It's like giving people a sneak peek at the rewards they can, They can expect once the network takes off. It's a smart way to encourage people to jump in early.
Right. Once the network is going strong, most DePIN projects use a multidimensional reward system to incentivize, ongoing contributions. These systems typically consider four key dimensions: contribution, participation, engagement, and performance.
So it's not just about like how much you contribute, but also like how consistently you participate, how actively you engage with the community,
Yeah.
and how well you perform within the network.
You got it. It's a holistic approach to rewarding users and keeping the network healthy and balanced.
And when it comes to like actually issuing tokens, DePIN projects have like 3 main approaches: time-based, supply-based, and demand-based.
In practice, most projects use a combination of these, tailoring their issuance schedules to specific token allocations and milestones.
For example, a project might use a time-based approach to, distribute tokens to early investors, a supply-based approach to reward miners for securing the network, and a demand-based approach to incentivize user adoption of the platform services.
Exactly. It's all about finding that perfect balance between, incentivizing all the different stakeholders and making sure the network can sustain itself in the long run.
It's a complex equation to solve, but it's essential if these DePIN projects want to achieve their ambitious goals.
Absolutely. And speaking of ambitious goals, let's shift our focus to the future of DePINs. What are some of the cutting edge trends and innovations shaping this rapidly evolving landscape?
I'm particularly interested in the intersection of DePINs and AI. It seems like that's where things are like getting really exciting.
It is one of the most thrilling developments is the emergence of on-chain AI, where AI models are, directly integrated into blockchain applications.
So instead of relying on those like centralized AI providers like Google, developers could tap into a decentralized network of AI models powered by DePINs.
That's right, and that has the potential to, disrupt the current AI landscape, which is dominated by a few powerful companies controlling access to data and computing resources.
It's another example of how DePINs are democratizing access to these like crucial technologies.
Exactly. However, some technical challenges still need to be addressed before on-chain AI becomes mainstream.
What kind of challenges?
One of the biggest hurdles is the cost of securely verifying those AI computations on the blockchain using something called zero knowledge proofs, or ZKP.
So even though the technology exists to verify these computations, it's still too expensive for most developers to use it.
Right. But thankfully, there are brilliant researchers working working tirelessly to make ZKP verification more cost-effective. Uh, as those technologies improve, we can expect to see an explosion of innovative applications for on-chain AI.
It's an exciting prospect. What other possibilities might DePINs like unlock in the future?
Well, we're already seeing DePINs being applied to,
Yeah.
all sorts of industries and use cases far beyond the core sectors we've discussed today.
Do tell. I love learning about real-world applications.
For instance, DePINs are being used to create decentralized random number generation,
Yeah.
RNG protocols,
Hold on. Why is that important?
because truly random numbers are vital for many applications,
Hmm.
including online gaming, blockchain protocols, and cryptography.
So by using DEPINs to generate those random numbers, we can make these applications more secure and fair.
Exactly. And we're also seeing them used to create decentralized platforms for advertising data.
Interesting. What's the advantage there?
It gives users more control over their data and allows them to monetize it directly.
So instead of
Going back.
before the break, we were discussing how DePINs could revolutionize everything from like data storage to AI. It's incredible to think about this like paradigm shift from passive consumers to active participants and owners in the digital realm.
Yeah, isn't it fascinating? This shift has huge implications for the future of the internet itself.
So let's unpack those implications. What would a future internet like built on DePINs actually look like?
Well, first and foremost, it would be a far more resilient internet.
Yeah.
Depends, we're moving away from those centralized points of failure that can, bring down entire systems.
Like having like thousands of backup generators for the internet, making sure it stays online even if parts of the network go down.
Exactly. And it's not just about resilience, but security as well.
Because the decentralized network is much harder to attack than a centralized one, right?
Precisely. With the pins, the attack surface is distributed. That makes it much harder for hackers to access sensitive data or disrupt services.
It's like having a security system with millions of watchful eyes, constantly verifying everything, as you mentioned earlier.
You got it.
Yeah.
And let's not forget about privacy. DePINs empower users to control their own data instead of surrendering it to large tech companies.
It's like reclaiming ownership of our digital lives.
Speaking of ownership, DePINs can create a more equitable internet where everyone has a chance to participate and benefit from the network's growth.
So instead of a small number of powerful companies like controlling the internet, we
Okay.
could have a distributed and democratic ecosystem where individuals and communities have a real stake in its success.
Exactly. It's a vision of the internet that's, truer to its original principles of openness, decentralization, and accessibility.
That's incredibly inspiring. But as with any like major technological shift, there are bound to be like challenges and uncertainties. What are some like potential roadblocks that DePINs might encounter as they develop?
One of the biggest challenges is simply raising awareness. Many people still,
Mm-hmm.
don't know about DePINs and how they could benefit.
It's like trying to explain the internet to someone who's never used a computer. It requires a whole new way of thinking about technology.
Exactly. It will take time and effort to educate people about DePINs and how they can, participate in this growing ecosystem. The regulatory landscape is another hurdle.
Because governments around the world are still trying to figure out how to regulate cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology, right?
That's right. As the pins become more widespread, governments will need to develop clear regulatory frameworks, ones that encourage innovation while safeguarding consumers
Right.
and the stability of the financial system.
It's a delicate balancing act for sure. And I imagine interoperability presents another challenge. Right now we have, many different DePIN projects operating independently.
You're absolutely right. To create a truly decentralized and interconnected
Sure.
internet, these various DePIN networks need to communicate and work together seamlessly.
Like having like different countries with incompatible electrical outlets, you need adapters to make things work.
That's a great analogy. Fortunately, some initiatives are already addressing this
Yeah.
interoperability challenge.
So there's hope for a future where, DePINs can seamlessly integrate with each other and create a truly unified and decentralized internet.
Absolutely. And finally, we can't ignore the potential for unforeseen challenges. The pins are still a
Yeah.
relatively new technology. As with anything new, there's always a chance of you know unexpected issues popping up as they evolve and scale.
It's like venturing into uncharted territory. We need to be ready for the unexpected.
Exactly. But despite these challenges, I'm incredibly optimistic about the future of Dibbins.
Me too. It's a powerful vision of a more resilient, secure, equitable,
Yeah.
and user-owned internet, and it's something we can all, play a role in shaping.
Absolutely. Now, as we wrap up the second part of our deep dive into Dibbins, let's leave our listeners with some key takeaways.
What's the one thing you want our listeners to remember about DePINs?
The pins are not just about technology. They're about people. It's about empowering individuals to take control of their digital lives and build a better internet for everyone.
It's a vision of the internet that's more in tune with its original spirit of collaboration, innovation, and freedom.
Exactly, and it's a vision we can achieve if we're willing to embrace the possibilities of depends and work together.
So what can our listeners do to get involved in this, DePIN movement?
First and foremost, educate yourself. There's a wealth of information available online about depends and the various projects underway.
The coin market cap report we've been referencing throughout this deep dive is an excellent place to start. It offers, a comprehensive overview of the DePIN landscape.
And once you have, a good understanding of depends, start exploring specific projects that align with your interest. Whether you're, passionate about data privacy, decentralized computing, or building a more resilient internet, there's a DePIN project out there for you.
And don't hesitate to get involved. Many DePIN projects are open source and community driven. You can contribute like your skills and knowledge to help them grow and thrive.
Remember, we're creating the future of the internet together. It's not something that just happens to us.
DePINs are giving us the tools to build a better internet, for everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's see this opportunity and shape the digital world we want to live in.
That's a powerful message. We'll be right back after a short message to wrap up our DePIN deep dive with some final thoughts and questions to leave you thinking about the possibilities of this game-changing technology.
We'll see you in a bit.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been exploring this exciting world of DePINs and their potential to transform the internet as we know it.
It's been quite a journey, hasn't it? We've seen how these decentralized networks are challenging like traditional models and empowering individuals to become, active participants in building a better digital future.
It's definitely given me a lot to think about. As we wrap up our DePIN exploration, I want to shift gears a bit and get a little philosophical. What are some of the broader societal implications of this DePIN revolution? What does it mean for the way we live, work, and interact with each other?
That's a great question. I think one of the most profound implications is a shift in power dynamics. DePINs have the potential to disrupt the current concentration of power in the tech industry, which is largely controlled by a handful of giant corporations.
It's like we're taking the reins back from those gatekeepers and putting them directly into the hands of the people.
Exactly. By decentralizing control over essential digital resources, DePINs create a more level playing field. It allows individuals, communities, and even small businesses to compete on a more equal footing.
It's a vision of a more inclusive and equitable digital economy where everyone has the opportunity to participate and benefit, not just the select few.
Precisely. And this shift in power could have ripple effects across various sectors from finance and healthcare to education and even, how we govern ourselves.
I imagine a world where voting systems are built on, secure and transparent decentralized networks. It could fundamentally change how we engage in civic life. and hold our leaders accountable.
It's a fascinating possibility, isn't it? And it's not just about, political power, but economic power as well. DePINs have the potential to create like new economic opportunities for individuals and communities that have traditionally been excluded from the digital economy.
Think about people in like developing countries who lack access to reliable internet infrastructure, or those who are like priced out of essential digital services. DePINs could help to bridge those gaps and empower more people to participate in the global economy.
Absolutely. It's a vision of a more inclusive and connected world with greater opportunity for all. But as with any major societal shift, we need to consider the potential risks and challenges as well.
What are some of those like potential downsides?
One concern is the risk of fragmentation. If we're not careful, DePINs could lead to a patchwork of isolated networks, each operating with its own like rules and standards.
That would defeat the purpose of a decentralized and interconnected internet.
Exactly. That's why prioritizing interoperability and collaboration between different DePIN projects is crucial. We need to ensure we're building a cohesive and unified ecosystem that benefits everyone.
Another challenge we need to like address is making sure that DePINs are truly accessible to everyone, regardless of their, technical skills or resources.
You're right. If DePINs are truly going to democratize, access to technology, they need to be user-friendly and intuitive for everyone, not just, tech-savvy early adopters.
We need to make sure we're not building a bridge to a new world and then forgetting to include like ramps for those who can't climb the stairs.
That's a great analogy. And finally, we need to be, mindful of the potential for unintended consequences. As DePINs become more integrated into our lives, it's essential to think about the ethical implications. We need to ensure these technologies are used responsibly for the benefit of all.
It's like any powerful tool. It can be used for good or for ill. It's up to us to shape how DePINs are, developed and deployed to ensure they align with our values and aspirations for a better future.
Well said. It's a collective responsibility.
As we conclude our deep dive into DePINs, I want to leave our listeners with a thought-provoking question.
I'm all ears.
Imagine a world where DePINs become the dominant model for digital infrastructure. What does that world look like? How do we interact with technology? How do we connect with each other? How do we govern ourselves?
It's a fascinating question to consider, and it's one we all need to engage with as DePINs continue to evolve. The future isn't predetermined. It's something we create right now with every choice we make, every technology we embrace, and every connection we build.
DePINs are offering a glimpse into a possible future where technology empowers individuals, promotes collaboration, and creates a more equitable and sustainable digital world.
It's a future worth working towards.
I wholeheartedly agree. And on that note, we've reached the end of our DePIN deep dive. Thank you for joining us on this journey of discovery. We hope you've gained valuable insights and are feeling inspired to learn more about this transformative technology.
It's been a pleasure exploring this topic with you.
Remember that the future is in our hands. Let's build it together. Thanks for listening to the Deep Dive